This is a true story. 1645, Edinburgh, Scotland. It was the time of the Black Death. It had ravaged England but had not made its way up to Scotland. Yet everyone knew the king ordered for the gates of Scotland's Edinburgh to be closed. No visitors, no travelers would come in, and no one would leave. This would keep out the Black Death. It was the close of Queen Mary. Now in Edinburgh, the streets were so narrow. The houses were so close together that they were called closes. And this happened on the close of St. Mary. It was a dark winter's day when a cry was heard out and a blemish was found and a baby grew sick. Soon people had heard, the word had spread, the plague had come. Immediately, the governors of Scotland ordered for St. Mary's Close to be sealed off. Guards were placed at both entrances, and all 637 people who lived in that close were destined to live there forever. Soon masons had come and built huge walls, and the guards were ordered to stand guard 24 hours a day and to shoot anyone who tried to get in or out. Screams were heard as kids and dogs and children and families went hungry, and as the plague spread throughout the close. Help us! Help my children! For 3 weeks, the people of Edinburgh stayed far away from Queen Mary's Close until all the sound had died away. Everyone in that close had passed to the beyond. 3 weeks passed, and the smell of rotting bodies had grown so horrible that they knew they must be removed. The walls were torn down, and men, butchers, and carts were sent in to remove the bodies. But there being so many and so big that they could not be carried out whole, and they had to be chopped up in pieces and piled on carts and wheeled out through the walls of the city of Edinburgh and buried in a huge pit of a grave. 2 weeks passed until all the bodies were gone. Well, as you probably guessed, this did not stop the plague. It still ravished Edinburgh. But from that point on, no one lived in St. Mary's Close. No one would go near. 100 years passed, and still the close was empty. People said it was haunted. It was not a place to live anymore. And yet, a rich lawyer up from the lowlands came. He came to Edinburgh looking for a place to live, and he saw the close with its beautiful houses. That looks like a good place. Is that for sale? Oh, you don't want to live there, said the real estate man. You don't want to live there. Yes. How about there? Very well, I can give it to you for a good price. And so that rich lawyer bought that entire close. He picked the finest house he could find, and he moved his new wife and their 3 kids in to the house. On the very first night, as they slept in their beds, they heard sounds like chopping and things banging into the wall. And when they opened their eyes, they saw limbs floating through the air, heads rolling across the ground, babies screaming, faces disappearing through the walls. Well, as you can guess, they did not even stay that one night. They grabbed what they could. And the very next day, they headed back down to the lowlands. And from that point on, they knew no one could ever live in St. Mary's Close, in Queen Mary's Close again. And so the town elders covered it over. As it stood, they covered it in dirt. And on top of it, 100 years later, they built the City Hall of Edinburgh. And it was forgotten until 1984, when they were digging beneath the City Hall to put in a new boiler. And they came on this intact, close building stood as they stood 400 years ago. And they say that it is now the most haunted place in the world. And if you go to Scotland today, you too might get the chance to go on a tour of Queen Mary's Close. If you are brave enough, if you are wise enough, you will stay away.